Welcome back to Chalk Talk. Pep Guardiola has finally managed to win the Champions League with Manchester City after beating Inter Milan 1-0 in the Champions League final of 2023. On to the key statistics from the game. In terms of the possession, Man City did have more of that, 56% to the 44% of Inter Milan, albeit it did seem to feel more than that at times. Expected goals for Man City were not as high as Inter Milan, probably partly due to some good chances that Inter Milan created late on towards the end of the game that bumped their expected goals output out, and probably Inter Milan did deserve to actually score a goal in this game. Obviously, shots on target were more for Inter Milan. Okay, straight into the tactics then. So, Man City appeared to line up in their 3-2-4-1 formation and Inter Milan in their favoured 5-3-2. However, there was a subtle tweak, and that was Stones pushing on a little bit higher to create this more Cruyffian 3-diamond-3 formation, which Pep tried to do in the Champions League final against Chelsea a couple of years ago, where it didn't quite come off for them on that night. Inter Milan, stubborn team, really hard to beat. They were happy to play in their 5-3-2 formation and block up the centre with 8 players there through the middle, making it really congested and hard for Man City to play through. Obviously, we know that Man City like to overload the midfield with the 4 players in midfield, whether that be in a box shape or a diamond formation. And Inter Milan did a real good job at preventing Man City's play through the middle. And I think only 20% of Man City's attacks came through the centre of the pitch, which they're often very devastating at. And Inter Milan did a real good job of nullifying that on the night. General play tended to look a lot like this throughout the game. Obviously, you've got the back three there, build up with Man City, with Rodri as the one pivot, as opposed to Stones dropping in there with him. Stones was pushed high, as playing almost more like an 8 or an inside forward. Obviously, De Bruyne had the unfortunate circumstance that he got injured again. Obviously, he came off injured early when they played Chelsea a couple of years ago. And that gave the spotlight for Phil Foden to then come on and play in that role just off of Haaland. And actually, that offered a different quality than De Bruyne does. Foden tends to be a bit more of a dribbler than De Bruyne, and that caused Inter Milan different problems. Man City, in terms of the build-up with their back three there and one pivot in the build-up, knew that they could always bypass the Inter press in terms of Dzeko and Martinez there, trying to get the ball off them, and they were comfortable doing this for large periods. If at times, sometimes Barella did push forward to try and make it a 3v3 to push onto Ake there, then Ake it freed up space to get the ball in between the lines to Gundogan, and that was a feature of the game on quite a few occasions. One of the big things that Man City did in this game, and I think this is the reason why they tweaked the formation slightly and pushed Stones further forward. Most teams Man City come against play with a back 4 and might sit deep. However, Inter Milan do play with this back 5, and actually pushing Stones further on allowed this 6v5 overload for Man City high up the pitch, pinning the Inter Milan back 5 back towards their own goal. The goal did eventually came when Akanji had a dribble and a surge forward and was able to release Bernardo for the cutback for Rodri. And it was this moment the Inter Milan midfield 3 were not quick enough to shift across and prevent this, and Akanji was able to capitalise on that with the through ball. Bernardo cutting it back, and Rodri with a fantastic finish, curling it into the net for Man City. I do feel that Pep was really brave in his tactics, and actually a couple of years ago when they just went with one pivot and pushed lots of players forward, at times, a lot of times Man City were playing with the front 6, and it's a very bold and brave move to do, especially in a Champions League final when most of the season they've played with a double pivot build-up. Actually, fortune sometimes does favour the brave, and although Man City's expected goals output was not as high as it could have been on the night, actually, the idea that they were able to push more bodies forward, I think they deserved to win the game in the end because of this gamble, and it really did pay off in the end on the night. Pep Guardiola now has won 2 trebles, obviously one with Barcelona in Spain, and now here with Man City. And surely that will put him down as one of, if not the greatest manager of all time. What an accomplishment. Premier League, FA Cup, Champions League. And I feel like they could be creating even more of a dynasty now moving forward and could dominate this Champions League for years to come. Who knows? We will see. Thank you for listening, everyone. Please like and subscribe if you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.